Elena Vasquez stared out the window of the transport ship as it approached the space station. The metal structure was huge, bigger than any building on Earth. Lights blinked along its surface like stars. This was where humans would finally join the galactic community, said the alien guide standing next to her. The creature looked like a tall, thin person with blue skin and 4 arms. Its name was Keltar, and it belonged to a species called the Zephyrians. Yes, it's amazing, Elena replied. She was Earth's best diplomat, chosen to lead this historic mission. After months of secret talks, 12 alien species had invited humanity to sign the Peace Accords. It stood for peaceful exchange and cooperative expansion. The station grew larger as they got closer. Elena could see other ships docked along its sides. Each one looked different, built by different alien races. Some were smooth and curved like eggs. Others had sharp edges and glowing lines. All of them were much more advanced than human technology. "Your people will be very happy here," Keltar said. Elena nodded and smiled, but something felt wrong. Admiral Marcus Chen had taught her to trust her instincts. Marcus was the military officer assigned to protect the diplomatic team. He was standing near the back of the room, watching everything with sharp eyes. The transport ship docked with a soft bump. Elena gathered her team and followed Keltar through the airlock. The station's halls were wide and tall, with smooth walls that seemed to glow with their own light. Alien beings walked past them, some floating, some crawling, some walking upright like humans. "This way to the council chamber," Keltar said. As they walked, Elena noticed things that bothered her. Security cameras pointed down at the hallway, but they were angled wrong. Instead of watching for threats coming in, they seemed designed to watch people trying to leave. Guards stood at every junction, and their weapons looked real, not ceremonial. Dr. Sarah Kim was walking beside Elena. Sarah was the team's language expert, and she had been studying alien communications for years. She leaned close to Elena and whispered, "The guards keep checking their watches." Elena frowned. That was strange behavior for a peaceful meeting. They entered a huge round room with a domed ceiling. 12 different alien species sat around a curved table. Elena recognized some of them from the preliminary talks. There were the rock-like crystalline collective, the insect-looking Vex, and several others she had only seen in videos. "Welcome, humans of Earth," said a large alien with 6 legs and glowing eyes. This was High Chancellor Vextar, the leader of the Hegemony Council. Elena and her team took their seats. The aliens began presenting gifts and offers. The Zephyrians showed holographic displays of machines that could change the air on dead planets, making them suitable for life. The Crystalline Collective offered mining rights to asteroid belts full of rare metals. The Vex promised biological improvements that could make humans stronger and smarter. "These are generous offers," Elena said. "Simply your cooperation," High Chancellor Vexitar replied. "New species always bring fresh perspectives. Your genetic diversity would be—" The way he said valuable made Elena's skin crawl. She glanced at Admiral Chen, who was standing against the wall. His hand was resting near his weapon, and his eyes were moving constantly, studying the room's layout. Dr. Kim was using a small device to record the conversations. But Elena noticed she was also doing something else. Sarah's fingers were moving quickly over a hidden keyboard, running translations of alien words she was picking up from around the room. The meeting continued for hours. The aliens talked about trade routes, shared technology, and mutual protection. They painted a picture of a bright future where humans would be safe and prosperous members of the galactic community. But Elena kept noticing strange things. The alien guards had changed positions 3 times, always moving to better block the exits. The gifts they were showing seemed too good to be true. And whenever the aliens thought the humans weren't watching, they would exchange quick looks and tap their communication devices. During a break, Dr. Kim pulled Elena aside. "I've been analyzing the alien chatter," she whispered. "They're using words that aren't in any of their official languages." Elena asked. Sarah's face was pale. "3 words keep coming up over and over. Harvest, specimens." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. Those were not words associated with peaceful cooperation. "There's more," Sarah continued. "I intercepted part of a message between the Vex representative and someone off the station." Elena looked around the room. The aliens were being friendly and welcoming. But now she saw it differently. The way they watched the humans reminded her of farmers looking at livestock. The generous offers seemed less like gifts and more like bait in a trap. Admiral Chen appeared beside them. "I've been counting the defensive positions," he said quietly. "Every single weapon on this station is pointed inward, toward this room." Elena's training kicked in. She had dealt with hostile negotiations before, just never with aliens. The signs were all there once you knew what to look for. The synchronized movements, the watching eyes, the too good offers. This wasn't a peace treaty. It was a trap. But Elena was a professional. She returned to the table and continued the negotiations as if nothing was wrong. She asked questions about technical details and trade agreements. She smiled and nodded at the right moments. The aliens seemed pleased with her reactions. Inside her briefcase, hidden from alien eyes, a communication device was recording everything and sending coded messages back to Earth. Admiral Chen had insisted on the backup plan before they left. Elena had thought it was unnecessary paranoia. Now she was very glad to be wrong. As the day ended, High Chancellor Vextar announced that tomorrow would be the signing ceremony. "A historic moment," he said with what might have been a smile. "Humanity's entry into the galactic community will be—" Elena agreed politely and led her team back to their quarters. But as they walked through the corridors, she could feel alien eyes watching their every move. Tomorrow would indeed be memorable, but probably not in the way the aliens expected. After all, humans had survived ice ages, world wars, and countless other disasters by learning one important lesson. Always have a backup plan. 3 billion miles away from the peace talks, Captain Rosa Martinez stood on the bridge of the USS Defiance. Her ship floated in the darkness between asteroids, hidden from alien sensors by advanced stealth technology that didn't officially exist. "Status report," she said to her crew. "All systems green, Captain," replied Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez from the tactical station. "The rest of the battle group is holding position." Rosa nodded. The aliens thought humanity had sent only a small diplomatic team to the peace talks. They had no idea that Earth's most advanced warships had been hiding in this system for 3 months, watching and waiting. The plan had started 18 months ago when Earth's intelligence services began intercepting alien communications. Dr. James Harrison, humanity's top expert on alien technology, had been the first to figure out what the messages really meant. "Captain," came a voice from the communication station. "Put it through," Rosa said. Elena's voice filled the bridge, speaking in a code that sounded like a normal diplomatic report. But Rosa's team knew how to translate it. The message was clear. The peace treaty was definitely a trap. "Understood," Rosa transmitted back. Rosa had been preparing for this moment her entire career. While other officers dreamed of exploring the stars, she had studied human military history. The lesson was always the same. Never negotiate from a position of weakness. The aliens believed they were dealing with a young, naive species that was just learning about the galaxy. They thought humans were like children playing with toys they didn't understand. They were very wrong. Down in the ship's laboratory, Dr. Harrison was working with a team of scientists and engineers. They had been busy for months, studying every piece of alien technology that Earth had managed to acquire through trade and espionage. "The quantum processors are working perfectly," Dr. Harrison told his team. What the aliens didn't know was that humanity had a gift for taking things apart and figuring out how they worked. Human engineers had built the first computers from vacuum tubes and wire. Human scientists had split the atom with equipment that looked like kitchen appliances. When humans wanted to understand something, they didn't give up until they did. "Dr. Harrison," called one of the young engineers. "I think I've figured out their navigation system. It's based on quantum entanglement, but they're using it wrong." Dr. Harrison smiled. This was why he loved working with humans. Give them any technology, no matter how advanced, and they would find a way to improve it. The aliens had thousands of years of technological development, but they had also become lazy and overconfident. Back on the bridge, Rosa was reviewing intelligence reports. The Hegemony Council wasn't what it pretended to be. The pattern was always the same. The hegemony would invite a promising species to join their community. They would offer gifts and promises of protection. Then, when the species trusted them, they would strike. Some species were enslaved. Others were harvested for their genetic material. A few were simply eliminated if they had nothing useful to offer. Earth's intelligence agencies had found records of 47 different species that had been welcomed into the hegemony community. None of them existed as free civilizations anymore. "Captain," said the communications officer, "we're picking up increased alien chatter throughout the system." Rosa wasn't surprised. According to the intelligence reports, the aliens usually struck on the second day of negotiations. They would wait until the target species was relaxed and trusting, then reveal their true intentions. But humanity had advantages the aliens didn't know about. Human ships were smaller and faster than alien vessels. Human weapons were crude but effective. Most importantly, humans had something the aliens had forgotten about after centuries of easy victories: the willingness to fight dirty. Rosa opened a channel to the other ships in her battle group. "All vessels, this is Defiance. Tomorrow is the day." "Affirmative, Defiance," came the replies from 18 different captains. Each ship had a crew trained for this exact scenario. They had practiced the attack plan dozens of times in simulators. The aliens studied human history, but they had learned the wrong lessons. They saw humanity's wars and thought humans were violent and primitive. They saw Earth's nations fighting each other and thought humans were divided and weak. They missed the most important thing about human nature. When threatened, humans didn't just fight back. They fought smart. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez looked up from her console. "Captain, I'm showing some interesting energy readings from the alien station." "Confirmed," said the sensor operator. "Multiple plasma cannon arrays coming online." Rosa felt her jaw tighten. The aliens were getting ready to spring their trap, but they were about to learn something about human nature that their history books had missed. Dr. Harrison's voice came over the internal communication system. "Captain, we've finished analyzing the alien ship designs in the system." The information flowed across Rosa's tactical display. The alien ships were impressive, with powerful shields and energy weapons. But they had weaknesses. Their shield generators were centralized, making them vulnerable to focused attacks. Their weapons were designed for long-range bombardment, not close combat. Most importantly, their ships were automated systems that couldn't adapt quickly to unexpected tactics. Human ships were different. They were designed by a species that had survived by being stubborn, clever, and unpredictable. Every human ship could change its tactics in the middle of a battle. Every human crew was trained to think for themselves when plans went wrong. "All ships," Rosa announced. "Final systems check." The response came back from 18 ships. "Ready to serve, Captain." Rosa looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, Elena and her team were maintaining the diplomatic facade, buying time for humanity to prepare its response. They were professionals doing a dangerous job, trusting that their people would come for them if things went wrong. Things were definitely going to go wrong. But the aliens were about to discover that humans had been planning for that possibility all along. The prey species they thought they were hunting had teeth, sharp ones, and tomorrow The galaxy would learn that some species were better left alone. The signing ceremony began with great fanfare. 12 alien delegates stood in their finest ceremonial robes while human representatives sat at the central table. Elena kept her diplomatic smile in place as High Chancellor Vextar began his speech about unity and shared prosperity. "Today," the insect-like leader declared, "marks the beginning of a new age." Elena noticed the alien guards moving during the speech. They shifted positions slowly, casually, but with obvious purpose. What had looked like ceremonial posting now formed a perfect circle around the human delegation. Every exit was blocked. Dr. Kim sat beside Elena, her translation device recording everything. But Sarah's fingers were also working on a hidden keyboard beneath the table. Her equipment looked like simple recording gear, but it was actually a sophisticated communication array connected directly to Earth's military networks. Admiral Chen stood against the wall in his dress uniform, looking every bit the ceremonial military attaché. But Elena knew that beneath his formal appearance, Marcus was cataloging every weapon, every guard position, and every possible escape route. His relaxed posture was an act. She could see the tension in his shoulders. High Chancellor Vextar continued his speech, but his words began to change. "Your species has shown remarkable adaptability," he said. Elena's blood went cold. That wasn't the language of partnership. That was the language of ownership. "Your world's resources are particularly impressive," added the Zephyrian representative. "The water, the minerals, the organic compounds." Around the room, the other alien delegates began to move. Their ceremonial robes fell away to reveal military armor underneath. Weapons appeared in their hands. The guards stepped closer, forming an even tighter circle around the humans. High Chancellor Vextar's voice took on a different tone, colder and more businesslike. "Humans of Earth, your species will serve the hegemony, as have 47 species before you. Your genetic material will provide excellent breeding stock for our biological programs." Elena felt the familiar calm that came with extreme danger. Years of diplomatic training kicked in. Never show fear. Never give the enemy the satisfaction of knowing they've rattled you. "That's fascinating," she said in the same polite tone she'd used for routine negotiations. The aliens paused. They had clearly expected panic, pleading, or desperate bargaining. Elena's calm response seemed to confuse them. Elena asked. High Chancellor Vextar's glowing eyes narrowed. "Your ship brought only a small diplomatic team." Elena smiled. It wasn't a diplomatic smile anymore. It was the kind of smile a predator made when the prey walked into a trap. That's when the lights went out. Emergency lighting flickered on, casting red shadows across the chamber. In those shadows, the human delegation transformed. Dr. Kim's translation equipment unfolded like a flower, revealing sophisticated communication arrays and quantum processors. The device she'd been typing on was now broadcasting on every frequency known to exist. Elena's briefcase split open to display a holographic command center, showing tactical displays of the entire star system. Icons appeared on the screen. Not the empty space the aliens expected, but dozens of human ships declocking throughout the system. Even their cultural attaché, a quiet man named Dr. Peters, revealed his true nature. His ceremonial metal expanded into a personal shield generator that surrounded him with flickering energy. His mild academic demeanor fell away to show the trained military officer underneath. "You studied our history," Elena said as energy shields formed around each human delegate. The aliens were staring at displays showing massive human ships appearing throughout their system. Ships that had been hiding in asteroid fields, behind moons, and in the shadows of gas giants. Ships that their advanced sensors had somehow missed completely. High Chancellor Vextar's voice carried a note of panic. "Impossible. Our technology is superior." Dr. Kim looked up from her communication array. Your technology is superior for energy-based detection. She was right. Human stealth technology didn't rely on exotic energy fields or advanced materials. It used principles that humans had developed during Earth's ancient wars: basic physics, simple chemistry, and clever engineering. The aliens were so focused on advanced technology that they had forgotten about basic camouflage. Admiral Chen stepped forward, and his dress uniform seemed to melt away, revealing combat armor underneath. His ceremonial sword expanded into a plasma rifle. His quiet, professional demeanor remained unchanged, but now it carried the promise of violence. You made several mistakes, Elena continued, still speaking in that same calm, diplomatic tone. First, you assumed we were naive. Second, you assumed we trusted you. More human ships appeared on the displays. The aliens' superior sensors were finally detecting them, but only because the humans had stopped hiding. Elena stood up, her movements causing her elegant diplomatic dress to shift and reveal military-grade body armor underneath. High Chancellor Vextar was frantically communicating with his fleet commanders. Elena could see the panic in his compound eyes as reports came in. Human ships were everywhere, surrounding alien vessels, blocking escape routes and targeting critical systems. You see, Elena continued, humans have a saying. You heard us speaking softly and assumed we were weak. The aliens were trying to coordinate a response, but their communications were being jammed. Dr. Kim's arrays had infected their networks with sophisticated viruses that disrupted their command and control systems. This is impossible, High Chancellor Vextar said. Your species is young, primitive. Elena's smile widened. You studied our wars and saw violence. You studied our conflicts and saw division. Outside the station, proximity alarms were screaming as more human ships revealed themselves. The aliens' perfect trap had become their own prison. When someone threatens our family, Elena said, we don't fight fair. That's when Captain Martinez's voice echoed through every speaker on the station, transmitted on frequencies that cut through all jamming attempts. This is the Terran Defense Force. You are in violation of interstellar law regarding the attempted genocide of a sentient species. The chamber fell silent, except for the sound of alien hearts beating too fast. High Chancellor Vextar looked around the room at his fellow predators, all of them suddenly realizing they had become the prey. Elena checked her chronometer. I'd make that decision quickly if I were you. The countdown began, and for the first time in their long history of conquest, the Hegemony Council discovered what it felt like to be on the wrong end of a trap. The USS Defiance appeared directly above the space station like a mountain materializing out of nothing. Its massive hull blocked out the stars as Captain Martinez opened communications to the entire Hegemony fleet. This is Captain Rosa Martinez of the Terran Defense Force. Her voice boomed through space on every frequency. You have 30 seconds to power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. High Chancellor Vextar's response came immediately. You dare threaten the Hegemony? We have ruled this galaxy for 1,000 years. Captain Martinez's reply was calm and professional. Thank you for clarifying your position. The space around the station erupted into chaos. 18 human ships dropped their stealth fields simultaneously, revealing themselves in perfect attack formation. They moved with deadly precision, each vessel knowing exactly where its target would be. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez smiled grimly at her tactical station. Firing kinetic harpoons. The Hegemony fleet scrambled to respond. Their ships were larger and more advanced than the human vessels, with powerful energy shields and devastating plasma cannons. But size and technology weren't everything in space combat. The first Hegemony ship to fire discovered this when its plasma bolt struck a human shield and simply disappeared. The humans had studied alien weapons for months, learning their frequencies and power signatures. Their shields were specifically designed to absorb energy-based attacks. In return, the human weapons were brutally simple. No exotic energy fields or complex targeting systems. Just solid metal rods fired at incredible speed using magnetic accelerators. The aliens' energy shields, designed to stop plasma and laser weapons, might as well have been made of paper. The first kinetic harpoon punched through a hegemony cruiser's shield and armor like they didn't exist. The solid metal rod carried so much momentum that it went completely through the ship and out the other side, leaving a perfectly round hole that vented atmosphere and sparks. "Direct hit on target 1, Rodriguez reported. Captain Martinez nodded. This was exactly what human tacticians had predicted. The aliens had become so dependent on energy weapons that they'd forgotten about basic physics. Humans, on the other hand, had never forgotten the lesson learned from throwing rocks at mammoths. Sometimes simple worked better than complicated. On the space station, the human diplomatic team fought with terrifying efficiency. Admiral Chen moved through the alien guards like a dancer, his personal shield deflecting plasma bolts while his rifle found every gap in their armor. Years of training in Earth's military academies had prepared him for exactly this situation. Dr. Kim's communication arrays had completely taken over the station's computer systems. Security doors that should have trapped the humans instead locked down alien forces. Life support systems that should have been controlled by the hegemony were now responding to human commands. High Chancellor Vextar demanded as his guards fell back under human fire. Elena reloaded her weapon calmly. "You're right. Our technology is simpler than yours." "Shonin." She was telling the truth. Human equipment was built by engineers who expected things to break in combat. Every system had backups, and every backup had alternatives. Alien technology was elegant and efficient, but it relied on everything working perfectly. In space, the battle was going badly for the hegemony. Their ships were designed for long-range bombardment against enemies who fought with similar weapons. The human ships got in close, too close for the big alien guns to target effectively. Human fighters swarmed around alien cruisers like angry wasps. The small ships were too fast and agile for the aliens' targeting computers to track. Each fighter carried its own kinetic weapons, punching holes through alien hulls with surgical precision. "Their point defense systems can't handle our attack pattern," reported Commander Torres from the fighter wing. The hegemony commanders were panicking. Admiral Kessitar, the fleet leader, tried to rally his forces. "All ships, fall back to Formation 7. But human tactics had accounted for this too. As soon as the alien ships began to group together, Captain Martinez executed the next phase of the plan. "All units, switch to cluster rounds," she ordered. The kinetic harpoons splitting apart as they flew, releasing dozens of smaller projectiles that spread out in a cloud of destruction. The tightly grouped alien ships found themselves facing a metal storm that no shield could stop. The hegemony's flagship, a massive vessel called the Eternal Dominion, tried to escape. Its captain activated the ship's emergency jump drive, preparing to flee to another star system and regroup. The jump drive never activated. Dr. Kim's virus had infected their navigation computers hours ago. Instead of jumping to safety, the flagship's engines simply shut down, leaving it dead in space. "Impossible," Admiral Kessitar transmitted on an open channel. Captain Martinez's response was broadcast to the entire alien fleet. "You connected your systems to the galactic communication network. Every message you sent, every data transfer you made, gave us access to your computers." It was true. While the aliens had been studying human history and preparing their trap, human cyber warfare specialists had been mapping every system in the hegemony fleet. The elegant alien computers that could process vast amounts of information were also vulnerable to programs designed by humans who had learned computer security in the most hostile digital environment in the galaxy, Earth's Internet. The battle was over in less than 20 minutes. Half the hegemony fleet was disabled or destroyed. The other half was surrounded by human ships with weapons pointed at their hulls. On the station, High Chancellor Vextar stood in the wreckage of his conference chamber, surrounded by human soldiers who had materialized as if from nowhere. Elena stood in front of him, no longer pretending to be a peaceful diplomat. She asked. "It's simple." She gestured to the tactical displays showing the destruction of his fleet. "You saw our wars and thought we were violent. You saw our conflicts and thought we were divided." Elena leaned closer to the defeated alien leader. "When someone threatens our family, we don't just fight back. We fight smart. We plan ahead." Dr. Kim looked up from her communication station. Elena nodded. "Granted. Tell her to be thorough." High Chancellor Vextar's compound eyes widened. Elena's smile was not pleasant. "We're going to make sure the galaxy knows exactly what kind of monsters you are. The hegemony had ruled through fear and deception for 1,000 years, but they had made one critical error. They had picked a fight with a species that was very good at ending fights permanently. The galaxy was about to learn that there were new predators in space, and unlike the hegemony, these predators hunted other predators. 6 months later, Elena Vasquez stood at the podium in what had once been the Hegemony Council chambers. The room looked very different now. Where 12 predator species had once planned the destruction of other civilizations, representatives from over 60 different species now worked together to rebuild the galaxy. "Today marks the end of the hegemony trials," Elena announced to the assembled delegates. As Secretary General of the new Galactic Liberation Alliance, she had overseen the largest war crimes tribunal in known history. The evidence had been overwhelming. When human cyber warfare specialists finished analyzing the hegemony's computer systems, they found detailed records of genocide spanning centuries. 47 species had been completely destroyed. Hundreds more had been reduced to slavery or used as breeding stock for genetic experiments. But the most shocking discovery was how the hegemony had operated. They maintained secret prison worlds where supposedly extinct species were kept alive for harvesting. Entire populations lived and died in captivity, their children raised to serve as resources for the hegemony's expansion. "The liberation fleets have now reached the final prison world," Elena continued. "The Collix people, thought extinct for 300 years, are free." A cheer went up from the assembly. Many of the representatives were themselves survivors of hegemony attacks. Some had hidden in distant star systems for generations, too weak to fight back, but too stubborn to give up hope. Admiral Martinez, now commander of the Alliance fleet, stepped forward to give the military report. "The last hegemony stronghold has fallen. Their fortress world of Dominion Prime has surrendered unconditionally." The war had been swift and brutal. Once the galaxy learned the truth about the hegemony, dozens of hidden species had emerged from their hiding places. They brought their own fleets, their own weapons, and most importantly, their own burning desire for justice. Human ships had led the liberation efforts, but they hadn't fought alone. The Zalari, thought destroyed 2 centuries ago, emerged from asteroid bases with ships designed specifically to hunt hegemony vessels. The Corvon, survivors of the first hegemony conquest, provided intelligence about hidden bases and secret facilities. The Alliance fleet now consists of over 300 vessels from 42 different species. Admiral Martinez continued. "Each world that we liberate adds their ships to our forces." Dr. Kim, now the Alliance's chief of xenological studies, presented her report on the recovered populations. "We have successfully relocated 37 species to suitable worlds. Many chose to return to their original home worlds, which we have helped them reclaim." But the most important change was philosophical. The galaxy had learned that sometimes peace couldn't be maintained through diplomacy alone. Sometimes, predators needed to be stopped by force. In a maximum security facility on the ocean world of Aquatica, High Chancellor Vextar sat in his cell watching news reports of the trials. His compound eyes tracked the footage of liberated populations returning to their homeworlds, of former slaves choosing their own destinies for the first time in their lives. Elena visited him one final time before his sentence was carried out. The former hegemony leader looked smaller now, no longer surrounded by the power and fear that had sustained his empire. He asked as Elena approached his cell, "Your species is so young, so inexperienced." Elena sat down across from him. Even now, after everything, she maintained the professional demeanor that had served her throughout her diplomatic career. "You studied our history," she said, "but you focused on the wrong parts. You saw our wars and thought we were violent." She gestured to the news reports playing on the cell's monitor. "But you missed the most important lesson from human history. We've always had predators on our world, not just animals, but human predators." Vexitar listened intently, perhaps hoping to understand where his perfect plan had gone wrong. "We learned how to recognize them," Elena continued. "We learned their patterns, their methods, their tells. A human child learns to spot a bully before they can read." She stood up, preparing to leave. "You thought you were dealing with a naive species meeting aliens for the first time." Elena paused at the cell door. "The biggest mistake you made was thinking that being alien made you special. You're not aliens to us. You're just bullies on a galactic scale." The trial verdicts were read that afternoon. High Chancellor Vexitar and his council were found guilty of genocide, slavery, and crimes against sentient life. Their sentences would be carried out on the worlds they had devastated by the survivors of their crimes. But the trials were only the beginning. The new Galactic Alliance Charter contained one simple principle that would govern relations between species. Predators forfeit their right to exist. Any species that systematically oppressed, enslaved, or destroyed other species would face the combined might of the Alliance. At the head of the Alliance military command stood humanity, not because they had conquered anyone, but because they had proven themselves as protectors. When other species faced extinction, humans had come to help. When entire civilizations called for aid, human ships answered. The galaxy was finally at peace. But it was a different kind of peace than before. It wasn't the peace of the weak accepting oppression from the strong. It was the peace that came from the certain knowledge that predators would be hunted down and stopped. 3 years after the signing ceremony that never happened, Elena stood on the observation deck of the Alliance headquarters, watching ships from dozens of species come and go. Trade vessels, exploration ships, and defense fleets all worked together under the Alliance flag. A young aide approached her with a communication pad. "Ma'am, we've received a distress call from the Centauri sector." Elena took the pad and reviewed the message. The pattern was familiar. Ships appearing without warning, demands for surrender, threats of consequences for resistance. It sounded like another predator species had decided to try their luck. "Contact Admiral Martinez," Elena said. The aide looked curious. Elena smiled, the same calm, professional smile she had worn during the peace talks that changed everything. "Tell them that help is on the way." She looked back out at the stars. Somewhere out there, another species was about to learn an important lesson. The galaxy had new rules now. Predators were no longer tolerated. Bullies were no longer feared. And at the center of it all, humanity stood guard, ready to remind anyone who forgot that some species were better left alone. The peace accords had been rewritten as the Planetary Alliance Charter for Equality. The galaxy had learned that true peace didn't come from avoiding conflict. It came from making sure that good people were never afraid to fight back when evil people threatened them. And humanity